Welcome back to the Human Nexus podcast. My name is Andrew Brazis. I am a marketing and business consultant and private chef.
Welcome back. My name is Miss Laura Machiste. I am an online tarot reader, holistic massage therapist, and energy coach. And today we are talking about astrology once again, Astro Talks Part 2. And in this episode, we're going to talk about Mercury retrograde, the planetary movements of the collective and the generations, as well as other opinions we have on any new astrological things.
And also how also how it's affected us in the ways, or at
Yeah,
least how we've noticed it affect us. Yeah.
exactly. So okay, go ahead.
I was
Oh,
gonna say, do you want to start with Mercury retrograde? Because I got hit really hard, like
well,
really,
that's what
really
I was just
hard.
going to say.
Yeah. So around the time of Mercury retrograde, I would say it's towards the tail end of it. I uh, got my Facebook account hacked into, and
Wow.
I that is part of my business. Like I run Facebook ads for all types of businesses, and I have 15 plus accounts that I'm attached to. And myself, I have a chef business as well. The private chef business got charged fraudulently through Facebook ads
Oh, no.
when I didn't have access. And I have also clients who are fraudulently charged. Yeah, so and everybody involved has lost access to their Facebook business account and the Facebook ads account. So since then, I
Wow.
mean, trying to clean up the mess is like getting back into Facebook, trying to get people into their Facebook pages so they can run ads. I mean, I've had clients who are sustaining business through Facebook ads, so like that's super detrimental. So if you're in business, don't put all of your eggs into one basket in ads. That's just pretty normal. But um, yeah, so that was my like big Mercury retrograde hit, which I'm still dealing with.
Wow, that's actually so crazy because Mercury rules the third house of Gemini because that's their ruler. They also rule Virgo as well.
Mhm.
Um, and Gemini does rule social media, like and those types
Interesting.
of things.
Oh, like
And
technology.
yes, like
Yeah.
technology, communicating,
Mm.
transactions, stuff like that. They say during Mercury retrograde, don't sign any contracts or make any big decisions. Could things may change. Careful driving, like any type of like transportation vibes, like delayed
Mhm.
flights are big during Mercury retrograde. Transactions, missing
Yeah.
the mark during Mercury retrograde. So, and they say, past people come back during that time as
Oh, that was
well.
sorry to interrupt you, but that was something else. I have clients that are recurring,
Hmm.
and I had two of them who they didn't pay, or like their cards were fraudulently charged. They had to get new cards or whatever. Um,
Wow.
and the last time that that happened on both of their accounts was the last Mercury retrograde. Like I did the research and like backtracked, which is insane.
Hmm. Wow.
Yeah.
That is
Sorry to
crazy.
interrupt you. Yeah.
Oh no, you're good. That's absolutely wild because that is the sense where it's easier when you're aware to figure out how it is, I guess, navigating itself for you. Like
Mhm.
money and transactions may be a big thing that Mercury is trying to teach you to
Mhm.
where you place it or how you navigate it or how people are feeling safe with their cards or their money or stuff like that. So the fact that it's the same theme, I think is pretty
Yeah.
interesting.
And it's crazy that it was
Um,
the same people too, for me, that
yeah,
was involved. Yeah.
which may also be their aligned message as well, where they should
Mhm.
also be a little bit more, maybe not having to do with you, but maybe in their own lives, they needed
Mhm.
some type of
Yeah.
like lesson in that sense. Um, Yeah, for Mercury retrograde, the most recent one for me was definitely technologically messed up. The
Mhm.
Wi-Fi wasn't working. My booking site was going down, which
Oh my
another thing
goodness.
as well. Like at that point, if I can't log into the booking site and this person wants to pay with a credit card and they don't have Zelle, Venmo, or anything like that, then do I let them walk away?
Yeah.
So that ended up happening to me a couple of times. But this most recent retrograde was definitely a lot of technological things, and it just messed with the schedule of work. And it actually had something to do with you because I think it messed with one of our recording
Oh
days.
yeah, we
So
pushed it
Mercury
back.
retrograde
Yeah.
comes for you.
Hmm.
I
It's
wonder
so serious.
I wonder if you have would you know what your Mercury placement is? Because that's a good thing to look for as well.
Mm. No, I could look it up though. Real quick.
Because I have a Mercury in Aquarius. So, with the connection to collective, a lot of the
Hmm.
times I do get hit with past people during a Mercury retrograde.
Interesting.
Um, like I ran into someone in ShopRite during Mercury retrograde that I haven't seen like in years. So I kind of feel like it brings about some type of review.
My Mercury is in Leo in my fourth house.
So maybe the way you're presented in
Mm.
that sense, especially since it
Yeah.
was your business and you kind of
Mm.
had to take the lead on figuring it out.
Which is interesting too, because both of those clients are clients that I got several years ago, and I've changed how my business is, like how it's
Mm,
structured. And they're still technically on like the old policy.
right.
Um,
Oh, so they
yeah,
had to be reviewed anyway.
yeah. Hmm. And no changes were made. They were fine with what was going on. But it's that's really interesting that you say that, because
Yeah.
that would, yeah.
Because retrograde, I always look at the beginning of like the clue word is like review, reconsider,
Mm,
reflect.
that's
So
good.
Mercury
Yeah.
retrograde, yeah, it does a lot of that. And that you don't really know how it's going to happen. And
Hmm.
Mercury retrograde, I feel like is I don't want to say it's a myth because it does happen, but like people always think like, oh, someone's coming back around during this time, or like don't trust what comes back around during this time. And it's kind of like, well, whatever comes around is asking to be reviewed. Like,
Hmm.
how were you in this person's friendship if a friend comes back around? What person were you? Just how you said, these people, these clients that had this similar issue, but were on a different or your old program,
Hmm.
they were brought about anyway to be reviewed. So
Yeah.
I definitely feel like there is some type of RE energy with retrogrades. But only
Yeah. It's
Mercury really gets the popularity for some reason.
yeah. Well, there was another one going on kind of at the same time, or no?
I think Mars is retrograde in Leo at the moment. I know that was
Hmm.
something that was being talked about a lot only because of the fact that I think a lot of things that happen in Leo, because Leo is
Hmm.
ruled by the sun, and I guess in our solar system, they're our leading planet, right?
Hmm.
So things that are happening in Leo, I feel like get a little bit more news than regular, which also makes sense because Leo is that standing out sign. So, of course,
Yeah.
something that's happening in their constellation will be maybe talked about a little bit more. Because that was one of the things that I saw Mars retrograde in Leo asking you, like, where are you placing your energy? What type of action are you taking? Are you taking action that's selfish or for the collective good? Stuff like that.
Very interesting. So a lot of realignments happening, I think.
Hmm.
Yeah. Mm.
And that's what happened to me in the beginning of Mars in retrograde in Leo, because I actually have a Mars in Leo.
Mm.
And I did have this question mark moment, which I actually think I talked to you about. Like, do I stay at my suite? Do I just focus on Miss
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
Machiste 100% again? Like, I really do feel that need to like help people collectively face to face, but
Hmm.
like, can I do this forever? So I did have a reflective moment on
Yeah.
what I'm taking action on. So, and a lot of the times we go with astrology, but no, astrology isn't in our mainstream media. That
Hmm.
a lot of the times you're going with the planets, you just don't really realize because people don't talk about it that outwardly as they talk about like other things.
Yeah. No,
And that's
that's
mainstream media.
very mainstream. And also, like, I'm thinking too of like my whole Facebook issue. The day that it peaked,
Hmm.
that Mercury retrograde peaked, Facebook went down on the on the business side for like 2 or 3 hours. Not just like my access, my revoke of access, I guess, happened the day after that. But like day of, like there was like a huge social, I don't know, thing.
Right.
So
Where it happened to everybody.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. That would, I feel like, to jump to the next one of
Mhm.
Pluto moving into Aquarius in
Yeah.
terms of that collective shift.
Hmm.
To connect to what you said, it's kind of like it's happening on an independent level, but then also happening
Collective.
collectively,
Yeah.
which is what Aquarius will do. Aquarius will make it that, yeah, it may happen to you, and you'll go talk to someone the next day, and they're like, oh my gosh, Andrew, I went through the same exact thing. So
Hmm.
Pluto and Aquarius is going to do that collectively, where we actually may find a lot of similarities in what we're going through collectively with other people. And that's where I do want to talk about that dude with the United Healthcare CEO in New
Oh,
York
okay.
City,
Hmm.
because Pluto just moved into Aquarius. And Aquarius is that rebellious sign. They're going to do things that people aren't doing. They're going to go against the grain. And if Pluto goes in generations, I think Pluto stays in signs for like 15 years or so. I'm a Pluto and Sagittarius person. Um, so
Mine's in Scorpio, I believe.
so maybe it isn't every 15 years. Okay, hold on. We have to
No, no,
Google it at the moment.
it's a long cycle. It's either 7, 11 and a half.
How many years is
I think it's 11 and a half.
in
I
a
could be
sign?
wrong.
Let us see. You are right. Oh, wait, 11 and a half to 30 and a half years, depending
Yeah.
on, I guess,
And
what it
I
decides.
think the cycle that we just ended was like on the farther end
Like
of the
Pluto is in Capricorn for a while.
yeah, yeah, like a lot like our lifetime kind of thing. I think.
Right.
I could be
Now I'm
wrong.
thinking, was
Yeah,
Pluto
my Scorpio is in Pluto or
Yeah, I
whatever
think mine is
Pluto is in Scorpio.
Sagittarius. Um, which back to this dude,
Hmm.
Luigi, who ended
Hmm.
up going against the grain, but did he really go against the grain to a lot of people? Collectively, he has like a 50-50, where like a lot of people are like, yeah,
It
we
makes
keep getting denied from healthcare, right?
yeah.
Or
Hmm.
we keep having, or like some people, family members or friends may have passed away because they didn't get approved for a certain surgery or certain this or certain that, where it's like you have half of the collective like, woohoo, go you, and then the other half of collective that's like, no, 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 you can't take a life. But Aquarius is going to ask you to look at the bigger picture.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel like a lot of it is shifting in the sense where, honestly, when I read this on the news and I just kind of realized not that long ago Pluto moved into Aquarius, I really wasn't that surprised that that
Yeah.
happened.
No,
I was
it
kind of like,
makes
oh,
sense. And
right.
also like I mean, I hate to say the shift that we need, but like our healthcare is so jacked. Like in the US for sure. I mean, I know other
Yeah.
places are a little better, um but it makes sense astrologically like you're saying as well because I mean, if it's been there, I don't know what it is, if it's been like 20 or 30 years, but
Hmm.
like our healthcare system's relatively new, like globally speaking.
Right.
Um and it's so broken. And if there's a time for it to shift, it just so happens to be now like it's all connected.
Yeah, exactly. Which also makes a lot of crazy sense thinking of astrological stuff.
Mhm.
Pluto being in Capricorn for whatever amount of time, everybody was just going with the structure. They're like, all right, well,
Mhm.
this is what the government wants us to do, or this is what they want us to do. So we're going to go with it. Pluto moving into Aquarius is saying, I don't want to go to the structure that you made for yourself. What if I feel like this is better for me? And I
Yeah.
personally love Aquarian energy. So I am so for the collective rebellion in a like a healthy way. I mean, was this
Yeah.
the healthiest way? I'm like 50-50 on it because there is also no verdict of if this is the dude in general anyways, but
Hmm.
it made so much sense. Someone
Yeah.
doing a single act that shifted the collective. That's Pluto and Aquarius.
Yeah.
That
That's
is
amazing. I
that's
mean,
it.
yeah.
And we just got into it too, which is even
Hmm.
crazier. Like,
It's like at the beginning. And that's
Yeah.
something like that I've been like personally trying to figure out. Like if like taking sort of energy, like retrograde maybe, like what's happening like in the beginning, like in the like what do you call it, the pre-shadow phase maybe?
Hmm.
I forget the
Yeah.
terminology. And then like what happens when it peaks, and then like how long does that last? And like for like full new moons, I've noticed that it's usually it's usually like a 10-day window. So there's like 5 days leading up to. I don't know why five, but that just seems to be what works, what I notice. And then like
Hmm.
the fifth day is like peak, and then like, you kind of have like 5 more days or like 4.5 or whatever, where it kind of slowly dies off into to the next cycle.
Right.
And after watching it and like I don't know, studying it like really consistently, it's crazy to see how that just affects not just myself, but like people around me.
Yeah.
And then once you see that, it's like the Matrix. It's like once you see that, you can't. Well, I guess you haven't seen the Matrix, but
Hmm.
it will
I
like
do want to watch that movie though.
yeah, you
I want
should.
to
You
watch The
should.
Matrix.
There's a whole series. There's like four. I think there's 4 or 5. I think there's 4.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
There's
you
that
should watch
many?
it. Yeah, it's
Maybe
really
I'll
good.
watch some tonight. I do
Yeah.
want to watch Interstellar as well.
Oh
I
yeah, that's a really good one.
My dad said that word in a dream like a couple of
Really?
weeks ago. So
Yeah.
remember when he told, I think I told you, or this was in a different episode, where the red dress, he's like, remember to wear the red dress. And that's when you brought up the Matrix. And then he
Oh yeah.
said, tell them I'm interstellar. I was like, what does that mean? But
Oh,
weird
that's oh
enough.
my God. I just had okay. So
Wait, go
when
ahead. You
you
might say exactly what I'm going to say.
no, I'm just gonna say when you watch that movie,
Oh,
like the ending is what you want to pay attention to, and I think
of the
that dream will
Matrix.
make more sense. No, no, of Interstellar, and I think that dream will make more sense to you. Yeah,
Okay, okay. Because when he said tell them I'm interstellar, I woke up and I looked up what that word means and then I saw
mhm,
that it's a movie and I didn't watch it
yeah.
before. So yeah, I was thinking of watching that one and I was going to
It's such
connect
a
it
good movie.
to
Yeah. Sorry.
all so weird. I think this dream happened like I'm gonna say like 2 months ago. I'm like looking at the calendar. I
Mhm.
would say like 2 months ago. It's so weird because I'm in New Jersey and all of a sudden everyone's talking about are these drones aliens?
Oh
Are they
yeah.
not? And
Yeah.
now everyone's like paying attention to the stars, but we
Hmm.
weren't really doing that before. And it was just weird that my dad said that in a dream. Yeah, I don't
That
know.
is
Things are
also
just
crazy.
really weird. Just really weird. But
Things are ramping up. Whatever.
yeah, they
Yeah.
definitely, I don't know what's going on, but stuff is going on. And thank God we have this so we could debrief about the things that are
Yeah.
happening in real time, which is
Yeah.
like super beneficial to like putting the puzzle pieces together, if that makes
Mhm.
sense.
Yeah. That's the human nexus in a nutshell, really.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Which
Exactly.
I don't know. Like it seems like it's working well. Like as far as
Hmm.
like the name and like what we're trying to do here. So
Yeah. And
yeah, I
exactly
love
like the
that.
things that we're talking about and kind of, because I'm sure there's other people that either will watch this or won't watch this and have the same thoughts. And they're like,
Mhm.
yeah, it's a little bit weird. I pay attention to astrology. We had a big generational shift and look at the collective going.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that's something too. Like if you're watching this right now, comment down below if you notice any of these things because for me, and this is one of like our first conversations about what this podcast was, but like making case studies for these like personal and collective shifts and how they show up in astrology and like in your day to day, which I think is just really interesting to track because I'm seeing it, but like that's not enough evidence for me. Like, I mean, I know
Right.
I believe my own experience, but like I think, we're all living a different experience, and I'm really curious to see where that aligns for other people.
Yeah. Doesn't that ever happen to you as well? Like, even if you haven't talked to someone in a period of time and then like you tell them like, oh yeah, how you been? And you're like, yeah, well, in December, this happened to me. And then they're like, that's so weird. Something
Yeah.
similar happened to me around that time as well.
I try to this is so funny like saying out loud, but I kind of try to like not fish for it. I remember like when the thing with Facebook happened. And so like
Hmm.
when I have conversations, I'll say, "Oh, yeah, how was your week 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago? Like what were you doing?" Just to see if I can't try to
Yeah.
make like a correlation without being
Hmm.
like, I don't know. I'm trying to lead the conversation without inserting astrology because I'm
Right.
curious to see if somebody said, something happened.
Well, it's interesting that you give that example because I read more consistently for Pisces and Leo, right? They're
Hmm.
two different zodiac signs, mutable, fixed, fire, water. But when they have a similar message, I know it's a collective moment. So just recently, in the last 2 weeks or so, they've both gotten messages of like some type of like windfall, like receiving
Mhm.
money that they didn't expect to receive. Obviously, it's holiday time, so there's Christmas bonuses in the air. But it's just
Mhm.
so interesting how the regular cards that are made of paper can pick up on when these things are happening. And just recently, I realized I'm like, all right, Leo got a big message about money, Pisces got a big message about money, and it was in the same day for the same release. So that's when I
It's
had the
so interesting.
correlation to something was happening. And something did happen to me.
Mhm.
Something happened to my friend who's a Leo rising. And she like screenshotted like her email from her boss and she sent it to me. And she was just like so grateful. She's like, oh my gosh, look at my Christmas bonus. I was like, yeah, girl, abundance. And
Yeah.
she's a Leo rising. My
Mhm.
sister's a Leo. And we both got something at the same time from a family member. And you're a Leo, your chef
Yeah.
thing just
Yeah,
got
my chef thing just
basically
kind of just like
sold
took
out.
off. Yeah,
Yeah.
which is crazy.
So very interesting things
Yeah.
happen, I feel
And
like.
when I watch your readings, I also watch a couple of others,
Hmm.
and I really resonate with like the collective because I can tell like there's sometimes the messages are almost identical, which like I watch you, you're in New
Hmm.
Jersey. I watch somebody who's in the UK, and I watch somebody who's on the West Coast.
Right.
The reading styles are different,
Hmm.
and it's interesting when they align, which happens very often, because it's like you guys aren't watching each other, like you're not copying each other, but the
Right.
energies are the same. So it's like it's made how I see like tarot reading specifically, pulling, you're like pulling from the same source, distributing the information differently, but it's the
Right.
same information. It's so crazy.
Yeah, I get those comments a lot. I have some people that they'll write the channel too. Like they'll tell me
Mhm.
what the reader's name was, and they'll be like, "Oh my gosh, you both pulled this card. You're tapped in, like blah blah blah." Or like I just saw a reading that gave us the same number, this, that, and the other. So I definitely feel like there is that collective nexus, I guess you could
Mhm.
say, where people have that, and I find it like I like it. Like I don't take
Yeah,
it as like, oh, you think I copied the person. I take it as like,
right.
all right, you probably watched them and then you watched mine and you're like, oh
Mhm.
crap, this is
It's aligned.
crazy.
Like
Mm-hmm.
that's how I know. Is like, oh, this feels right because it's
Right.
consistent. Yeah.
Exactly. And even when I do readings, it kind of gives me the like even with like the Leo reading for Christmas.
Hmm.
I, you guys know how to read words. You know, I use a lot of
Hmm.
oracle in the beginning. So it's not like you could just like make up a message that's like totally different than what's being said in the words that you're receiving at first. And for the Leo reading, it wasn't like the greatest message for this like holiday season or just like the last 48 hours, or it just wasn't a message that I was like, I liked putting out there, but I was like, well, we're getting it. So let me just put it
Yeah.
out there. And I even said to them at the end, I'm like, I'm so sorry. This is your holiday reading, but like, you guys know how to read words. So I don't want you guys
Mhm.
to think I'm just like making things up and like showing you a card and then telling you, oh, haha, it's totally fine. And then I
Yeah.
spoke to one of my friends this morning who has a boss who's a Leo
Hmm.
and he's going through a lot of family stuff. And they got like a family card too. And I was like, oh, okay, like that makes me feel a little bit better because I don't want like to give people news that they weren't aware of. And they like take it and they say, well, that girl's reading said something about family. So I'm going to show up to our family
Hmm.
gathering a little off. So
Yeah.
that's
That's
where
what
it's
makes
like,
tarot so tricky.
and
Yeah.
astrology too. You go and you
Yeah.
look at your horoscope and you can look at your horoscope for the next day
Hmm.
and you take that and you're like, well, my horoscope said not to trust people, and I'm going out and doing this. And then you walk into a gathering not trusting people just because your horoscope said that. So I feel like it's all a tool. And depending on
Hmm.
how you use it, like astrology is a tool, tarot is a tool. And
I see it as like a multiverse theory where of like that's one outcome of like a billion.
Right.
and it's the energy is really heightened for that outcome. So
Mm-hmm.
like just do what you need to do to either protect yourself or like stay in line aligned in your truth. That's why alignment and like authenticity is so important to me at least.
Mm-hmm.
And making sure that like you don't go that route. And if you do, or if that's like what tends to happen, you at least are like ready for it mentally, emotionally, or can be, instead of
Right.
expecting an outcome, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. And that's where like horoscopes and astrology and tarot like all go hand in hand to where they're kind of giving you a prediction. That's why I like
Mhm.
to do my readings in a sense where I'm telling you what the energy is and how to work with it. But you could
Yep.
decide not to work with it at all and just do nothing, and that might
Mhm.
even work out better for you.
Yeah.
Um
Right.
so I feel like it's just all perception and your intention with life. Like, what is your intention and how you're
Mhm.
navigating things? And I feel like that's why astrology gets a bad rep sometimes. You get people be like, well, I'm this way because I'm a Pisces. And it's kind of like, okay, you have certain characteristics because you're a Pisces, but if you have free will, you can choose who you decide to be. And
Mhm.
that's why I don't like when people use that excuse, like, oh, it's Mercury
Well,
retrograde. I'm
and
having a
that
hard
plays
time.
into our previous episode about alchemizing
Hmm.
like good and bad energy. Like if you
Right.
stay, like if you see like something imminent it's coming, like through tarot or
Hmm.
astrology, and you stay in that like dense energy and you
Right.
like latch onto it, it probably will happen. But like if you like work through it prior,
Hmm.
like using it as a tool and like being like, okay, I can overcome this. I'm just gonna stay grounded and present, and then you navigate it, and it's like, oh, that wasn't that bad.
Yes, that does
Mhm.
connect to our alchemizing episode as well as your friend Rennie's episode.
Oh
Right? That's how
yeah,
you say
yeah,
his
yeah.
name.
Yep.
I
Mhm.
I will I'm not gonna forget when the way he explained like the negative entity that you can
Mhm.
attach to yourself. Like, I think about that all the time now, and like that also connects to the fact of you become aware Mercury retrograde is starting and you become negative towards it before it even had a chance to happen.
Yep.
And that kind of is like manifesting that for
Yeah,
yourself and
yeah. You're absolutely
alchemizing
like manifesting it. Yep.
the negative experience. So astrology is going to happen no matter what. People are going to
Yep.
read tarot no matter what. You're going to see horoscopes around no matter what. The way you perceive them and the way you free willingly take action towards your life is really going to be what your outcome and your how your day goes.
Yeah, and that's so important. Next episode, we are getting into all things aliens, ETs, intelligent life, if you will. You have
Yeah.
anything to add to that? Drones?
Yeah, well, I'm in New Jersey. That seemed to be the state of that they wanted to fly these things around. I have a couple different footage of video that I'll send Andrew to put into that episode, like during or while we're talking about it. Um, yeah, I will save what I have for next episode, but I have a couple different thoughts on all extraterrestrial things. And hopefully, between now and then, I will watch Interstellar and I'll have a little
You
bit
should.
more.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
you
going to
should.
probably watch it
Yeah.
tonight. So
Yeah.
I'll have
Awesome.
something for that. So get ready for Alien Talk next episode. And if you have any stories about Mercury retrograde experiences, collective shifts in astrology, horoscopes, readings, whatever the case may be, that you feel like connect to maybe what the planetary movement is happening. Put your comments down below and don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you don't lose our podcast.
Thank you guys so much for listening.
Thank you. Bye now.